the twin moons of Viralaya hung high in the sky, casting a soft silver light over the shining towers of the royal palace. Inside the grand hall, the air was heavy with tension. Tall alien nobles with shimmering skin and glowing eyes stood in silence as Queen Syria addressed her council. Her voice was calm but firm as she spoke of a decision that would shape the future of their people. Lyra, the young princess, hid behind one of the tall crystal pillars, her heart racing. She had been told to stay in her chambers, but her curiosity was too strong. She wanted to know why her mother had been holding secret meetings for the past several days. When the queen began to speak, Lyra listened closely. Our enemies, the Craxians, grow stronger each day, Queen Syria said. Their fleets move closer to our world. If we do not act now, Viralaya will fall. She paused, her bright golden eyes scanning the crowd. That is why I have agreed to form an alliance with the humans of Earth. Murmurs spread through the hall. Many Vilari nobles exchanged shocked glances. Lyra froze. Humans were a new species that had only recently been discovered by the Vilari explorers. They were considered primitive and fragile compared to the advanced Vilari race. Why would her mother trust them? The queen raised her hand, silencing the crowd. To seal this alliance, my daughter, Princess Lyra, will be bound to a human in marriage. Together, they will unite our people. Lyra gasped. Her legs trembled, and tears welled in her eyes. She could not stay hidden any longer. She ran into the hall, her voice breaking as she cried, "Mother, why am I being made to marry a human?" The nobles stepped back, whispering among themselves. Queen Syria's expression softened, but she stood tall, showing no weakness. Lyra, my child, this is for the good of our world, she said gently. The Craxians have defeated every world they touched. Alone, we cannot stop them. But with the humans by our side, there is hope. Lyra shook her head, her long silver hair flying. Hope? They are weak. They cannot fight like us. Why should I sacrifice my future for them? The queen's face grew stern. This is not just about you. It is about every life on this planet. Sometimes, duty is heavier than the crown itself. Lyra's tears fell freely now. She turned and fled the hall, her heart filled with anger and sorrow. Behind her, the council erupted into arguments. Some nobles supported the queen's decision, while others feared it would bring ruin. In her chambers, Lyra collapsed on her bed. She buried her face in her hands, trying to make sense of it all. She had always dreamed of choosing her own path, perhaps leading armies or exploring distant stars. Instead, she was being treated like a tool for politics. Her chest ached as she whispered to herself, I will not do this. I will never marry a human. As night fell, the sound of engines echoed through the sky. From her balcony, Lyra saw a sleek silver ship descending toward the palace landing platform. Her breath caught in her throat. She knew who it was. The human was here. Down on the landing platform, a young man named Darren stepped nervously onto Viralaya's soil for the first time. His simple uniform looked strange among the ornate robes of the Vilari guards. His eyes widened as he gazed at the towering spires of the palace and the glowing gardens that surrounded it. He had grown up hearing stories of alien worlds, but seeing it with his own eyes felt unreal. Welcome to Viralaya, a royal guard said coldly. The queen awaits you. Darren nodded, his hands trembling slightly. He had been sent as part of Earth's first Great Alliance mission. He knew the purpose of his visit, but the idea of marrying someone he had never met, someone not even of his species, made his stomach twist. Still, he had sworn to represent his people with honor. From her balcony high above, Lyra watched him walk toward the palace gates. She clenched her fists, anger and fear mixing inside her. To her, he was the symbol of everything being taken from her. She did not see his nervousness or courage, only that he was human. As the doors closed behind Darren, Lyra turned away and whispered, "I will not let this happen." Her mind filled with thoughts of rebellion and escape, even as the fate of her world rested on the choice her mother had made. Far below, Darren stepped into the grand hall, unaware of the storm of emotions waiting for him. The alliance had begun, but neither he nor Lyra knew how deeply their lives were about to change. The grand dining hall of the palace glimmered with light from floating crystal orbs. Long tables were set with silver plates and shining cups filled with glowing blue nectar. Villery nobles stood tall and graceful, their shimmering skin reflecting the light like polished stone. At the far end of the hall, Queen Syria sat on her high throne, calm and regal. Beside her sat Lyra, her face cold and unwelcoming. At the center of the hall, Darren stood surrounded by guards. He wore a simple formal suit, a mark of his human origin. His heart raced, but he kept his posture straight. He reminded himself of his father's words before leaving Earth, "Show them courage, no matter how afraid you feel." "Welcome, Darren of Earth," Queen Syria said, her voice carrying through the hall. "Tonight, you will meet the one who may one day rule beside you." Darren bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. It is an honor to be here." Lyra said nothing. She only stared at him, her bright silver eyes sharp with anger. She had expected humans to look odd and weak, but Darren seemed even smaller and plainer than she imagined. She turned her face away, refusing to greet him. The queen motioned for everyone to sit. Food was brought in by servants, dishes filled with colorful alien fruits and glowing meats. As they began to eat, Lyra finally spoke, her voice sharp. "So, this is the human my mother wants me to marry," she said loudly enough for the entire hall to hear. "He looks fragile. Can he even hold a sword, or will he break it with his weak hands?" The nobles laughed quietly, some covering their mouths to hide their smiles. Darren felt heat rise in his cheeks, but he kept his tone calm. "I am not here to fight you, princess," he said. "I am here to help your people, and mine." Lyra's lips curled in a smirk. "Help us? What could humans offer that we do not already have?" Before Darren could answer, a deep rumble shook the hall. The crystal orbs flickered, and a guard rushed in, shouting, "Attack! Craxian drones are entering the city." Panic filled the hall as nobles screamed and scattered. Queen Syria rose to her feet, shouting orders to her guards. Lyra stood frozen for a moment, her heart pounding. She had trained for battle many times, but she had never been attacked inside the palace itself. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed as part of the ceiling collapsed. Debris rained down near the royal table. Lyra stumbled backward, stunned. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw a Craxian drone burst through the wall, its metal body gleaming, its sharp claws extended. The drone lunged toward her. Lyra raised her arms to defend herself, but before she could act, Darren leapt forward. He grabbed her and pushed her out of the way, shielding her body with his own as a piece of heavy stone crashed to the floor where she had been standing. Lyra gasped, staring up at him in shock. You saved me," she whispered. Darren didn't answer. He grabbed a fallen guard's weapon and swung it clumsily at the drone. Though his strikes were unskilled, his courage was clear. The drone screeched and turned its attention to him. Just as it lunged, Villery soldiers stormed into the hall and destroyed it with precise energy blasts. The danger was over, but the hall was left in ruins. Smoke rose from broken walls, and the smell of burnt metal filled the air. Queen Siraya rushed to Lyra's side. "Are you hurt, my child?" "I am fine," Lyra said, still staring at Darren. She could not understand why he had risked himself for her. Darren groaned and stumbled, clutching his arm where debris had struck him. A guard caught him before he fell. "He needs a healer," the guard said urgently. "Take him to the healing chamber at once," the queen commanded. As Darren was carried away, Lyra's mind spun with confusion. All her life she had believed humans were weak, selfish, and beneath her people. Yet this one had thrown himself into danger without hesitation to save her. When she returned to her chambers that night, she could not sleep. She sat by her window, staring at the stars. The memory of Darren's determined face filled her thoughts. She touched her chest, feeling the fast beat of her heart. "I do not understand him," she whispered to herself. Far below in the healing chamber, Darren lay on a smooth glowing bed while healers treated his wounds. Though his body ached, his mind stayed sharp. He thought of Lyra's cold eyes and the moment she had looked at him with shock instead of hatred. He did not know what the future held, but he silently promised himself one thing. No matter how difficult this alliance became, he would not give up. For Earth. For Viralaya. And perhaps, one day, for Lyra. The sun rose over Viralaya, casting golden light across the palace towers. Lyra stood on her balcony, staring at the city below. Her mind was tangled with thoughts of the night before. She could still see Darren's face as he shielded her from the falling debris. She had mocked him, yet he had risked his life to save hers without hesitation. A soft knock came at her door. Her attendant, Myra, stepped inside. "Princess, the healers say the human is awake. Would you like to visit him?" Lyra's first instinct was to refuse, but curiosity burned inside her. She needed to know why he had acted so bravely. After a long pause, she nodded. "Prepare my cloak. I will go, but no one must know." The healing chamber was quiet and glowing with soft blue light. Darren lay on a smooth crystal bed, his arm wrapped in shining bands of healing energy. When Lyra entered, he tried to sit up, but she raised a hand. "Do not strain yourself," she said coldly, trying to hide her unease. Darren gave a small, tired smile. "I am fine. These healers are far better than the ones back on Earth." For a moment, there was silence between them. Finally, Lyra asked the question burning in her mind. "Why did you save me? You had no reason to risk your life for me." Darren's expression grew serious. "Because life is precious. Yours, mine, everyone's. It does not matter if we come from different worlds. I could not stand by and do nothing while someone was in danger." Lyra blinked, startled by his answer. She had expected pride or perhaps a political reason, but his words were simple and honest. They made her chest tighten in a way she did not understand. "You are strange, human," she said quietly. "I insulted you, yet you protected me." Darren shrugged slightly. "You don't have to like me, princess. But if this alliance is to work, we have to trust each other at least a little." Lyra looked away, conflicted. Trust was not something she gave easily, especially to someone she had been forced to meet. Still, his courage had planted a small seed of doubt in her anger. Later that day, Lyra walked through the palace gardens, hoping to calm her thoughts. As she passed near the council chamber, she heard raised voices. Curious, she stepped closer and hid behind a large pillar to listen. The Craxians have begun moving their fleet toward Viralaya, a counselor said urgently. Our scouts believe they will strike within weeks. Another voice, sharp and worried, replied, then we must call upon the humans now. Without their weapons, we cannot win. Queen Syria's voice cut through the argument. We will be ready. The alliance must hold, no matter the cost. Lyra's heart sank. Her mother had been right. The danger was worse than she had realized. If the Craxians attacked, countless lives would be lost. She clenched her fists, thinking of Darren's earlier words. Perhaps humans were not as weak as she believed. Perhaps they truly could help. As the council meeting ended, Lyra turned to leave but stopped when she heard something unusual. A faint clicking sound came from a small crystal device hidden in the shadows. She picked it up and realized it was a message recorder. When she pressed it, a distorted voice spoke. Tonight, the alliance will be broken. The human must not survive. Lyra's blood ran cold. Someone inside the palace was planning to harm Darren. She slipped the device into her cloak and hurried back to her chambers, her mind racing. That evening, she visited Darren again. This time, she did not hide her worry. You are in danger, she said quickly. Someone here wants to destroy this alliance. They plan to kill you. Darren sat up straighter, alarmed. Who? I do not know yet, Lyra admitted, showing him the device. But we must find out before it is too late. Darren met her gaze, determination shining in his eyes. Then we'll stop them. Together. Lyra hesitated, then nodded. It felt strange to work beside him, but she could not ignore the truth. Their worlds depended on this alliance. As night fell, the two of them stood on a balcony overlooking the city. Lyra's voice was quiet but firm. I still do not understand you, human. But perhaps, you are not as weak as I thought. Darren smiled faintly. And perhaps you are not as cold as you want me to believe. For the first time, Lyra allowed herself a small smile in return. Deep inside, a fragile bond was beginning to form, even as shadows of betrayal gathered around them. The night was cool and quiet, but Lyra's heart raced as she slipped through the palace corridors. Darren followed closely behind, his footsteps soft against the smooth crystal floor. In her cloak, Lyra carried the small message device they had found. Its warning still echoed in her mind, tonight, the alliance will be broken. The human must not survive. They had no time to waste. Somewhere in the palace, a traitor was planning to strike. Are you sure about this? Darren whispered, glancing around nervously. Lyra nodded. If we wait for the council to act, it will be too late. The traitor could strike before dawn. We must find proof ourselves. Darren tightened his fists. Then lead the way, princess. The two moved through a hidden passage beneath the palace, a tunnel known only to the royal family. Lyra had played there as a child, but now the dark stone walls seemed threatening. Strange noises echoed around them, making Darren's skin prickle. As they walked, Lyra kept her voice low. The message was left near the council chamber. That means the traitor must be someone with high rank, someone trusted. Darren frowned. If that's true, they'll have powerful friends. Are you ready for that? Lyra hesitated for a moment, then said firmly, I will not let anyone harm you or destroy this alliance. My people need hope, even if I once doubted it. Hearing her words filled Darren with strength. He had come to this world feeling like an outsider, but now he knew he was not alone. The tunnel opened into a hidden observation room overlooking the council chamber. Lyra peered through a crystal screen and froze. Below, a group of armored guards stood around a tall figure. The figure removed his helmet, revealing the sharp, stern face of Commander Varek, one of Viralia's most respected military leaders. "Tomorrow, the humans will leave this world forever," Varek said coldly. "Without them, the Queen will have no choice but to strengthen our armies and abandon this foolish alliance." One guard asked nervously, "And the human ambassador's son? What of him?" Varek's eyes hardened. "He will not live to see another sun rise. His death will be blamed on the Craxians. The humans will flee, and our people will fight alone, as we should." Lyra's breath caught in her throat. She had trusted Varek since childhood. To hear him speak of betrayal was like a blade in her heart. Darren clenched his jaw. "So it's him. He's the one who wants me dead." Lyra turned to him, her voice trembling but firm. "We must stop him before he strikes. If he succeeds, the Craxians will destroy us all." As they moved to leave, a loose stone shifted under Darren's foot with a sharp crack. Varek's head snapped upward. "Who's there?" he barked. Alarms rang as guards swarmed toward the tunnel entrance. Lyra and Darren ran, their footsteps pounding. Energy bolts sizzled past them, striking the walls. "Keep moving!" Lyra shouted. They reached a side passage, but as they turned, armored guards blocked their path. A fierce fight erupted. Lyra's training as a warrior princess showed in her swift, precise strikes. Darren, though less skilled, fought with raw determination, using a fallen guard's weapon to defend himself. Despite their efforts, more guards poured in. In the chaos, Varek himself appeared, his blade glowing with deadly light. "You should have stayed out of this, princess," he snarled. "Now you and your human will both fall." Lyra stepped in front of Darren, her voice steady despite her fear. "I will never let you harm him." Before she could strike, Varek gestured, and two guards grabbed Darren from behind. He struggled fiercely, but they overpowered him. "Take the human to the holding cells," Varek ordered. "When the Craxians attack, his body will be found among the ruins." "No!" Lyra screamed, fighting to reach Darren. But Varek struck her with a stunning blast that knocked her to the ground. Darren's last words before being dragged away were filled with defiance. "Lyra, don't give up. Stop him, no matter what." When Lyra awoke, the chamber was silent. She was alone, her body aching. Rage and determination burned in her chest. She knew she could not face Varek's army alone, but she could not abandon Darren either. As dawn's light began to creep through the palace windows, Lyra rose to her feet. She would gather allies, reveal Varek's treachery, and rescue Darren before it was too late. The fate of the Alliance and both their worlds now rested on her shoulders. The first light of dawn spread across the sky, but there was no peace in the palace of Viralia. Lyra hurried through the halls, her mind sharp with determination. Darren had been captured, and Varek planned to kill him before the Craxians attacked. If Darren died, the humans would leave, and the alliance would fall apart. Viralia would stand alone against the coming invasion, and her people would be doomed. Lyra stormed into the queen's private chamber, her cloak flowing behind her. Queen Syria turned in surprise. "Lyra, what are you doing here so early?" "Mother, Commander Varek is a traitor," Lyra said, her voice fierce. "He has taken Darren and plans to murder him. He wants to destroy the alliance." Gasps came from the queen's advisors, who had gathered to discuss the battle preparations. Queen Siraya's face darkened. "These are serious words, my child. Do you have proof?" Lyra held up the message device. "I heard him speak with my own ears. If you do not act now, Darren will die." The queen's hands trembled slightly as she took the device, listening to Verek's voice. When the message ended, she closed her eyes. "If I move against Verek without the support of the council, it will cause civil war. Half of our military leaders still trust him. I cannot risk dividing our people on the eve of battle." Lyra's heart sank. "So you would do nothing while he murders the human who saved me?" Siraya's eyes filled with sorrow. "I want to save him, Lyra, but if I act wrongly, the Craxians will destroy us all." Lyra stepped back, anger blazing in her chest. "Then I will save him myself." Before the queen could stop her, Lyra turned and ran from the room. Her decision was made. If her mother would not fight for Darren, she would. She rushed to the warriors' barracks, where a few young soldiers loyal to her waited. Among them was Myra, her attendant and closest friend. Myra's face was pale when she heard Lyra's plan. "Princess, this is dangerous. Verek's stronghold is heavily guarded." "I know," Lyra said, strapping on her armor. "But Darren risked everything to protect me. I cannot abandon him." The small group rode swift hovercrafts through hidden mountain paths until they reached Verek's base, a dark fortress surrounded by spiked walls. Smoke rose from chimneys, and patrols circled the gates. "Stay quiet," Lyra ordered. "We go in fast and leave faster." Under the cover of night, they slipped through a drainage tunnel beneath the fortress. Inside, the air was cold and smelled of metal. Lyra's heart pounded as they crept through narrow corridors. At last, they reached a cell where Darren was chained to the wall. His face lit up with relief when he saw her. "Lyra. I knew you would come." She smiled faintly, cutting through his chains with her energy blade. "I promised I would not let him harm you." Before they could escape, alarms blared. Verek appeared at the far end of the hall, his face twisted with fury. "You think you can defy me, princess? You bring shame to our people by standing with this human." Lyra stepped forward, her weapon ready. "No, Verek. You bring shame by betraying your queen and risking our world." A fierce battle erupted. Lyra fought with speed and skill, while her loyal warriors clashed with Verek's guards. Darren, though still weak, grabbed a fallen weapon and fought beside her. He had no training, but his courage matched hers. At one point, Verek struck Lyra's blade aside and moved to strike her down. Darren threw himself in front of her, blocking the attack with his weapon. Together, they pushed Verek back, their movements perfectly in sync. Finally, Lyra delivered a final blow, sending Verek crashing to the floor. Defeated, he spat out bitter words. "The Craxians are coming. Even with your alliance, you will fall." "We will face them together," Lyra said firmly. They bound Verek and left him for the queen's soldiers to deal with later. As they escaped the fortress, Lyra looked at Darren, who was breathing heavily but smiling. "You saved me again," she said softly. "And you saved me," Darren replied. When they returned to the palace, Queen Siraya met them at the gates. Relief flooded her face when she saw her daughter and Darren alive. Lyra explained everything, including Verek's betrayal. The queen embraced her daughter tightly. "You have done what I could not. You saved the alliance." Before they could celebrate, a guard rushed forward, shouting, "Your Majesty, The Craxian fleet has entered orbit. They are attacking. The skies above Viralia lit up with the glow of enemy ships descending like a storm. Lyra and Darren stood side by side, ready to face the battle ahead. The war for their worlds had begun. The skies above Viralia burned red as Craxian warships descended through the clouds. Their engines roared like thunder, shaking the ground. Fireballs rained down on the city as terrified citizens fled to shelters. The palace trembled under the bombardment while the Villery defense towers fired beams of light upward, striking the enemy ships. Lyra stood on the palace balcony beside Darren and Queen Syria. Her armor gleamed in the flickering light, and her face was set with determination. She had no time to think about fear. The Craxians are striking every sector at once, she said, her voice steady. We must launch our forces now. Darren looked to the horizon where the human fleet had just arrived. Sleek silver ships appeared from the clouds, flying in precise formation. The sight filled him with pride. My father is here, Darren said with relief. Admiral Roland brought Earth's best fighters. A holographic communicator lit up beside them, showing the stern face of Admiral Roland. Darren, Princess Lyra, we are ready to fight alongside you. Give us your command. Lyra took a deep breath and spoke clearly. Admiral, focus on the Craxian flagship. We will defend the city while you take out their command vessel. If the flagship falls, their forces will scatter. Understood, Roland replied. His voice held respect. Your courage honors us all. As the connection ended, Queen Syria turned to her daughter. I will stay here to coordinate the defenses. You and Darren must lead the strike team. Lyra nodded firmly. We will not fail. Moments later, Lyra and Darren boarded a swift battle skimmer with a squad of elite warriors. From the air, they saw the full scale of the attack. Craxian drones swarmed through the streets, tearing down buildings and blasting defense turrets. Villery soldiers fought bravely but were outnumbered. Hold on, Lyra shouted as she piloted the skimmer through the chaos. She weaved between falling debris and enemy fire, her hands steady on the controls. Darren manned the rear turret, firing bursts of energy at pursuing drones. Though he had little training, his aim grew sharper with each shot. They landed near the heart of the city where the fighting was fiercest. As they leapt out, Craxian warriors surged toward them, towering and armored, their eyes glowing with cruel light. Lyra led the charge, her energy blade slicing through enemy ranks. Darren fought beside her, protecting her back. At one point, a Craxian warrior knocked Darren to the ground, raising a clawed weapon to strike. Lyra spun and struck the attacker down, then helped Darren to his feet. Are you hurt? She asked quickly. Only my pride, Darren said with a strained grin. Let's keep moving. As they pushed forward, Lyra realized something. Our forces are fighting separately. We must combine our strengths. Humans have advanced weapons, and we have faster fighters. If we work as one, we can turn the tide. Darren nodded. I'll relay the plan to my father. He activated his communicator and quickly explained Lyra's strategy. Moments later, human ships began coordinating with Villery ground forces. The effect was immediate. Human aircraft provided heavy cover fire from above while Villery warriors launched swift counterattacks on the ground. Together, they pushed the Craxians back step by step. Just as victory seemed near, a massive explosion shook the palace. A Craxian assault ship had landed on the royal courtyard, sending smoke and flames into the sky. They are going after the queen. Lyra shouted in horror. Without hesitation, she and Darren raced toward the palace. Inside, they found Queen Syria surrounded by Craxian warriors. She fought bravely, but she was badly outnumbered. One warrior struck her down, and she fell to the floor. "Mother!" Lyra cried, charging forward with a fierce battle cry. Darren followed close behind. Together, they cut through the enemies with unmatched determination. When the last Craxian fell, Lyra knelt beside the queen. Syria was injured but alive. "My daughter," she said weakly, "you fight with the heart of a true leader. I am proud of you." Before Lyra could respond, Darren's communicator beeped urgently. Admiral Roland's voice came through. "The flagship is retreating. We have won the skies." Outside, the remaining Craxian forces began to scatter. Their once mighty army broke apart without leadership, fleeing into the wilderness. The city was saved, but the damage was great. Buildings lay in ruins, and the cries of the wounded filled the air. Lyra helped her mother to her feet, then turned to Darren. "This victory was not mine alone. It was ours." Humans and Velari stood side by side. Darren smiled, though exhaustion lined his face. "And we'll keep standing together." But even as relief spread through the palace, Lyra knew this was only the beginning. Rebuilding trust between their peoples would be just as difficult as rebuilding the city itself. As the sun set over the battered capital, Lyra looked toward the horizon. A new day was coming, and with it, a choice that would change both their worlds forever. The skies above Viralia were calm for the first time in weeks. Smoke still rose from the city, but the Craxians had fled, defeated. Lyra walked through the palace gardens, her heart heavy yet hopeful. The city had survived, but so much had changed. She had faced enemies, saved Darren, and led her people in battle. She had discovered courage she did not know she possessed. Queen Syria approached, her steps careful but strong. "Lyra," she said, her voice gentle, "the war is over, but there is another decision to be made. You have the choice now. The alliance no longer requires marriage. The human may leave. The decision is yours alone." Lyra looked down at her hands, thinking of Darren. She remembered the first night he arrived, awkward and nervous, and how she had mocked him. She thought of the battles, the moments they had protected each other, and the trust that had grown between them. She had expected duty to guide her choice, but now her heart spoke louder than obligation. Darren appeared at that moment, stepping through the palace gates. He had recovered from his wounds and wore a simple uniform, but his eyes were filled with warmth and quiet strength. When he saw Lyra, he smiled softly. "You have won more than the battle," he said. "You have shown the best of your people, princess. And of yourself." Lyra felt her chest tighten. "I never believed humans could be brave or strong," she admitted. "But you changed everything I thought I knew." Darren took a step closer, his gaze steady. "And I never expected to find someone who could lead with both heart and courage. Someone who would fight not just for herself, but for all her people." The queen watched silently, allowing her daughter to speak her truth. Lyra took a deep breath, then lifted her chin. "Mother, I once asked why I must marry a human. Now, I understand. I do not want to marry him because of duty or politics. I want to marry him because I trust him. I care for him. I choose him." Queen Syria's face broke into a proud smile. "Then the choice is yours, Lyra, and I will support it. The alliance will be stronger because your heart has guided it." Darren stepped forward and gently took Lyra's hand. "I cannot promise I will always be perfect," he said softly. But I promise to stand by you, to protect our people, and to honor this bond. Lyra smiled, her silver eyes shining. And I promise to do the same, human. Together, we will face whatever comes, not because we are forced to, but because we choose to. The palace erupted in quiet celebration. The soldiers who had fought beside them cheered, and citizens who had survived the attacks gathered in the streets. For the first time in weeks, Viralia felt safe. Humans and Vilari shared smiles and laughter, standing together as friends and allies. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with orange and gold, Lyra and Darren walked through the palace gardens. The air smelled of fresh flowers and burnt metal, a reminder of the battles they had endured. Lyra looked at Darren and spoke quietly. "I never believed I would care for someone from another world," she said. "And yet, I cannot imagine my life without you." Darren squeezed her hand gently. "Nor I without you. We have learned from each other, and together, we can build a future stronger than either of us could alone." The Queen joined them, placing a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "Your people will remember this day. Not only for the victory over the Craxians, but for the courage and wisdom you showed in choosing your path. You have united two worlds, not with fear, but with trust and respect." Lyra felt a deep warmth inside her. She looked up at the twin moons rising above the city and whispered, "I once feared duty. Now, I understand that courage is not only in battle, but in the heart." Darren smiled and kissed her hand gently. Together, they turned toward the palace, ready to face the future side by side. For the first time, Lyra truly felt hope. Hope not only for her people, but for herself and the human who had changed everything. In choosing him, she had chosen unity, love, and a new era for Viralia and Earth. The two stood together, hand in hand, watching the stars above. Their worlds were different, but their hearts had found the same path. And together, they would face whatever challenges came next, stronger than ever before. The alliance was no longer just a duty. It was a bond of trust, courage, and a shared future. And it was theirs to protect, forever.